Hi all, this is Systemshark bringing to you an audio commentary for WCReplays.com. This audio commentary is copyrighted, as usual, 2006 WCReplays.com, so don't go stealing it. Alright guys, I took a leave from work this month. I got this whole month off of work and I'm hanging up with my girlfriend's family in Butler, Pennsylvania from Orlando, so we drove up all this way and it was a great drive, and now I got all this free time to make audio commentaries for you guys. This is actually the first bit of time I've got available to do this, as there's usually a lot of people around and they're all out of the house now, so I can finally do an audio commentary. I've been prepping all these past few days on a few ideas for you, so this time I'm going to continue on with my audio commentaries on average players. This one is of someone who sent me this game named, who's the human player here? T.I. Rune. He's the human player. He was sending me this replay via the PMs on the forums to do a critique on it, and I was actually thinking I might want to do an audio commentary on it because it kind of goes over a good facet for human players and to try to counter the orc on smaller maps. This map is Terra in a Stand, and smaller maps tend to be a little bit more action-packed for this matchup, I think. Actually, for most matchups, the smaller maps tend to be more action-packed just because there's only one place where the guy's going to be spawning. You're going to know where he's at a lot of the time. It's going to be easy to find him, so more fights are going to be happening. Anyway, go ahead and get the replay synced up at 2 minutes, and we'll pause it at 1x speed, pause it 2 minutes, we'll set it at 1x speed. Keep Fog of War off. It's just better, I think. There's nothing that I think we need to see from each player's point of view in this game. Again, this is going to be of average players. These aren't Gosus. These are players who sent me their games, and they're even above average. I think some of these players, with the way they micro, I think is something to be a little bit of an entertainment value, but more of a learning curve, I guess, for the average players out there on WC Replays, since I know all you guys aren't grubby listening to my audio commentaries. But if you are grubby, what's up? I like your pink shirt. Alright, go ahead and we'll get it unpaused here in the next few minutes. Never mind, let's just do it now. Alright, ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, unpause. Alright, we're unpaused, and I'm looking at T.I. Rune right now. I'm not a human player, I am the orc player, but I'm going to comment this game on the human perspective, since T.I. Rune was the guy who actually sent me the replay. Notice he's bringing his militia out to creep this goblin laboratory. This is a pretty easy camp to creep out early on for human with the militia. It's easily going to be able to get you level 2, so you can get Brilliant Sword pretty quick, because there's a level 5 Renegade Wizard. You just got to watch out for that lightning shield. This time he got it cast on the first unit that was up there taking the damage, which was the water elemental. Now he's using that to his advantage. If you look at the water elemental, he's taking out the lower level apprentice wizard camp. So he just took out 2 camps with one strategy. That is a very, very ghosty move. I didn't notice that the first few times I watched it. I just noticed it now. So ghost shoutcasting style audio commentaries. From the orc player, this is the time of the game when you want to go test the waters. Right in the beginning of the game, take a few of your grunts, take your farce here, try to scout out your opponent. If he's not creeping at the regular areas for where you think he might be, just keep looking for him. You got to find him. You want to try to get a creepjack in, maybe kill a water elemental that's low on life from tanking, or get the last hit on a few creeps, maybe even steal the item if you can. It's a good point in the game you don't want the human to just go off and level willy-dilly, nilly-nilly, all that great stuff. So now you're going to see another encounter. Instead of searching for the opponent, the orc players decide to just start creeping the lower level kobold camp right outside. But the human players come in, and he's doing really well early game. His footman, though, if you hold alt, is really low in life, and you're going to try to bring him back, and I think he's able to do it. The order of attack you want to do here is you want to definitely target the wolves as a human player. And as the orc player, you want to target low-level creeps if they're low on life, especially when doing this creepjack. But if you see a low-level footman like that sticking out that's not being moved back, easily pick those off. Footmen early on like this are really weak. Actually, the Archmage is also a really good target early on when they're levels 1 and 2 like this. They have a little bit more HPs than a footman, and they're going to fall. He's going to fall quickly to Wolf and Grunt and Farseer Focus Fire. It's a good idea to bring him all the way back to his base and delay him from creeping again. But definitely try to micro out your wolves, even resummon them if they're low enough. Once the human player has the 2 water elementals out, it's going to be hard to stick around there. They do a good bit of damage early on, and when they're full HPs, they're just a big tank. You're not going to be able to kill a water elemental from full HPs. It's better to pick those off when they're lower level, at this point in the game anyway. So both players now continuing on with their strat. They're teching their next tier level. The Orc actually went for a faster tech. He's almost he's like 75% of the way finished with his tier 2. And now they're just resituating. This is kind of an idle time in the game. Let's go over some other things that the human player did early game that I want to point out to you. You notice his farm placement at the north part of his base. It's up a little bit, and you might think that's a little strange, but for a human player, probably not, because they call them scout farms, and this is going to be able to give him enough time to decide if he wants to, or how he wants to come back and save his base, because he's going to be able to see his opponent coming from that ramp a lot earlier on than if all his farms were in his base. You also notice his base design, although it looks kind of open, is actually pretty tight. The only part that's really open is that bottom area, so he's going to be able to TP in, easily get in and out, but if someone was coming to harass his peons, his peasants, he's going to be able to trap them in relatively easily. Orc player knows he doesn't have the advantage quite yet, so he's not going to be doing any pushes at this point. I want to take a note real quick. If you look in the middle, the human player is deciding to take this Geomancer camp out in the middle. And on this map, I think this camp is the trickiest camp to hit, mainly because that Geomancer slow is so annoying. It may seem like a really easy camp, but it actually takes a good amount of time to take out. And if he wasn't so close to 3, I'd really kind of question the reasoning for taking on this camp, as opposed to maybe getting your forces together and taking out that mercenary camp or another rogue wizard or apprentice camp. Those are a little bit easier to take on as opposed to the Geomancer camp early on. Also, it's in the middle of the map, and when it's close to tier 2, your chances are hitting your opponent is going to be a little bit more detrimental. If you've got slow on your unit, it's going to be bad. There's a fight going on right now by the Orc base. At this point of the game, again, it's tier 2. We still don't have the Tauren Chieftain out, so you don't have to fear Chain Wave as much, but Chain Lightning can still be very detrimental on your footmen, so be very careful on how long you keep your orange and red HP footmen up there. So he's doing a job of using his footmen and his water elementals to take down individual grunts and microing back his footmen. So that's definitely what you want to do. He didn't really accomplish too much other than killing one grunt this fight. Obviously, he was going in there to try to take out any tier 2 buildings, or building burrows, maybe even get a surround or something on the Tauren Chieftain if he's out, or secondary hero. So it was a good decision to try to hit at that point, but he's taken a lot of losses on a lot of damage actually on his footmen, which right now are serving as front lines, which are letting him creep and doing a good job of holding his front lines for when he pushes his opponent. He's got actually a good amount of footmen. Was that like 6 or 7 footmen? Generally, I see a lot of humans stopping at 5 before they start switching to riflemen. But at this point, he's just going for the dual arcane sanctum, which is going to give him the casters he needs to try to counter those grunts. Casters are definitely a good counter to grunts. The magic damage they do and slow, really, really good idea to counter grunts. But now he's going to have to deal with raiders, which he's expecting, and raiders are going to do siege damage, which are going to do extra to the casters. But not only that, you're going to have to deal with ensnare. And right at this point of the game, when you're just starting to fortify your tier 2 army here, dealing with ensnare is going to easily take out those tier 2 units. He did bring an extra scroll of regeneration, so even though he didn't get his footman full HP from the first scroll, he was able to creep out another camp and continue on his leveling there. He chose to go a Mountain King second. Pretty standard choice for human as a secondary hero. This is a tavern map, however, so you've got other options available to you. I see Naga a lot for human, using frost arrows to pick off, again, weak units. At this point in the game, you're going to be trying to focus on the raiders for the orc when you're taking the fights. A lot of creeping going on now. Not many each of the players aren't trying to put a lot of pressure on. At this point, actually, probably would be a good idea for the human to put pressure on the orc player, as he's you don't want to let him creep willy-nilly, as in earlier. That's such a funny word, willy-nilly. Anyway, the orc is now easily able to get his tier 2 forces up, which are going to counter the impending casters, which he's already predicting. He didn't scout it out, he just kind of knows after playing so many human games that casters are a pretty obvious choice for the human to go. So he's getting Spirit Walkers, which actually do a really, really good job of countering casters. They also do a really good job of countering Focus Fire from the Water Elementals and Heroes. Using Spirit Link on his units will help spread out the damage, and when you're fighting against something that doesn't have any Focus Fire, it's even more spread out. But now to counter these the effects of Chain Wave, the human player is definitely going to need some Scrolls of Healing. And he knows he doesn't have them right now, and he's kind of stuck out in the open without any place to go. the Orc is going to pop a speed scroll to catch up and wait for the refresh on his raiders to get some ensnares off. If you hold alt again, a lot of the human army is all in the red. That Stormbolt probably would have been better served on a raider to try to stop those ensnares, but it was a close call either way. Instead of on the full HP Tauren Chieftain, you want to use that low-level Stormbolt early on to stop the control of your forces. Staying at this fight, definitely a bad move, losing a lot of forces here, but he had to get the slows off in order to save the rest of his forces from the chasing Orc army there. But now slow easily removed by the level 1 adept Spirit Walkers. Again, I think they have the largest AE Dispel, although it is very mana intensive, so they don't use it a lot. They try to group up their forces to get the most out of the one cast of it. The human player now makes the decision to go creeping. After taking significant losses, I don't know if it was the best decision to go creeping, especially so close to your base, and on smaller maps it's definitely a risky move to go. So now he's going to be creeping. Although he just started, he's still taking a good bit of damage from his units, and now he's got to make the decision to town portal back with a slightly weaker army. He wasn't able to kill one creep from that whole set. I think he's almost got a level 2 troll down, but he TP's out just before it gets killed. And now he's got to make the decision to fight here. Now you don't want to be bringing your forces out so early during this fight when you're defending. He's doing the right move by summoning some militia, getting some militia to help him hold his front lines, but he's got to keep his casters back. Right now, the footmen and the militia are going to just basically serve as fodder to Chainwave. Level 1 Chain Lightning and level 1 Shockwave does a good bit of damage, and he did a good job by getting Scrolls of Healing from the shop while he was there. He only used one so far, I think. Or maybe he hasn't used it yet. I know he uses it later because he realizes that definitely is the counter to Chainwave, is to getting those Scrolls of Healing and stop the effects. Loses his Mountain King. Really not too much he could do there. It was kind of a close call. He was trying to get the last hits on the Tauren Chieftain, which he actually